Wolf Company. The rise of the Red Hand. Somewhere on the continent of Africa, more specifically in the Congo, a conflict was in progress in between the Congolese army and the rebels called the Red Hand, the sympathetic and terrorist group, famous for massacring thousands of civilians and soldiers and for having no scruples, being the terror of the people of Congo. The conflict reached a critical point, so great that the other nations of the world had to intervene in the conflict to stop it. But they only did it worsen. Their intervention alone angered the Red Hand. The Red Hand launched large-scale attacks against these countries. The situation had been discounted. The UN had to intervene, but even they couldn't do much. In the end, the UN and the other nations were forced to withdraw and abandon the continent, leaving them at their mercy. In a short time, the Red Hand took power. The continent of Africa, now in the hands of the Red Hand. What was once a terrorist group was now a military power, capable of fighting the world and with desires for conquest. The military power known as the Red Hand. Now the owners of the African continent had taken total control of the continent, including the trade routes. Both land and sea forces had also taken control of the diamond mines, oil, and native resources of the continent. With those resources, the Red Hand wasted no time. With all that money, they fortified their defenses by buying weapons of mass destruction and fortifying its borders with a source of military defenses preventing entry or exit. Chapter 1. The arrival of the Wolf Company. 5 years later, the forces of the Red Hand advance across the Asian and European continents, destroying everything in their path. Defenses were insufficient, so governments were forced to hire mercenaries. Following this decision, Europe and Asia had an opportunity, but of all the mercenary companies, only one was hired. So lethal was the name of this lethal company. It was Wolf Company, a company confirmed by special forces from all over the world such as SAS Spetsnaz, Korps FSK Spezialkraft Foe, and just to mention a few of the many. These men and women were not your typical mercenary group. They were survivors. Every member of the company. They were not afraid of terrorists. They were hunters of terrorists. Once they smelled the scent of blood, they never lost it. In some parts of Spain, more specifically in Seville, in Dos Hermanas, the forces of the Red Hand had seized the city. The Spanish army had done everything possible to stop it, but they could not withstand the ruthless force of the Red Hand. Forced to retreat and losing not only the province of Seville, but also they lost Huelva, Cadiz, Malaga, Granada, Almeria, Jaén and Córdoba. Forced to retreat to Ciudad Real, where they mounted a defense. With this devastating loss, the Spanish entered into defensive mode, refusing to advance or retreat. And the Company of Wolves entered with the permission of the Spanish government. The Wolf Company entered the territory. On the outskirts from the city of Pozo Blanco, a unit of 10 soldiers moved through the darkness like shadows in perfect synchronicity, tracking enemy patrols. The unit stopped among a group of trees, concealing several vehicles that passed in front of them. The unit leader raises his hand into a fist, ordering his men to stop. His men obey his order. They all crouch on the ground. Patrols pass by. One patrol stops, and the leader or sergeant exits the vehicle. The leader looked the number of enemies, a total of 5. 1 in the machine gun, 2 on the road, 1 near the vehicle, and the last one towards the trees. The leader gestured to one of his men. The soldier nodded in response. The soldier begins by slowly crawling towards the enemy soldier while the leader gives orders to the rest. To get into position, 4 soldiers pointed their weapons at the 4 enemy soldiers and waited for the signal. The first soldier, positioned behind his target, stood up slowly without making a sound and drew, taking advantage of the fact that the enemy had his back turned. He used his combat knife to get close enough with his left hand. grabbing the enemy's mouth to prevent him from screaming for help. And with his right hand, I cut his throat with a clean, quick cut. The enemy had no time to ration. The soldier put the body slowly and placing it on the ground and gave the signal to the leader. The leader nodded in response, looked at the rest of his men, and gave them the order to open fire. 4 silent shots, 3 bodies hit the ground. 1 vehicle draw. The leader ordered his men to collect the bodies and hide them in the trees as they moved quickly toward their objective. At headquarters, there was a lot of movement. The leader of Wolf Company was looking at the monitors. Good to his soldiers in the field. A soldier approaches and gives a military salute. General Macmillan, all squads in position await you. Orders, sir, said the soldier.